Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Breaking 90 podcast. I'm your host, Alex Harriman. This is my co-host, Jerrika and we are the coaches of Breaking 90 Fitness. Thanks for listening. Jerrika, how's it going?
Great. How you doing?
Doing well today. What's new in your life?
Nothing super crazy. I just the other day I got asked from a gym goer what my favorite exercise in the gym was, and I feel like this is a question we've probably got many times in the last few years. But
Totally.
yeah, and I had like a moment of I thought like I should know that answer. Like I'm like I'm a avid gym goer. I should have an answer, and I didn't. And then it's kind of got me pondering the question, and I think it'd be anything with a barbell. But then I was like, well, I think it depends on my mood. So this is how I responded to them. I was like, well, it depends on my mood. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, well, if I'm angry or if I'm like happy or feeling strong, it would all depend.
So before you give your answer, I am curious, is your favorite, say, style of exercise strength training?
Yes.
More than running or anything?
Oh, absolutely.
Strength training is like your favorite form of exercise. So within strength training, then what's your favorite lift?
I would say right now I'm obsessed with the clean.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And if I'm like kind of feeling like angry or whatever, then it's a med ball slam. I've been obsessed with them. I've been loving them lately. So it's been a lot of fun. Otherwise, I love kettlebell work too.
Jim Wendler, he's a strength training coach. You've probably heard of him. Yep. He created the 5-3-1 system. So one of his big things is starting workouts with med ball slams or jumps, just because they're so explosive. So
and they really drive hip extension, which is huge in majority of our lifts, right? So
yeah, I've often tried to start my workout with a med ball slam. It feels good, and it feels like it activates everything so well.
I agree. Yeah.
I went through a phase with the clean and the snatch too. The roadblock I ran into is like being limited to where you can do them. If you're in a good gym and you can practice them regularly, they're a lot of fun. But then at like commercial gyms, you can't really do them because you can't drop a bar. In my basement gym, I can do cleans, but I can't do anything overhead. So I can't do snatches or jerks.
The roof?
Yeah, the roof's too low.
Okay.
So like, if you don't do those lifts consistently, you start to kind of suck at them, and then it's frustrating.
Yeah. Definitely. I'm really fortunate with the access that I have and the tools. I don't go to normal gyms, I guess you would call it.
Yeah.
I have full access to, the garage gym is awesome and the gym I go to. So yeah, I'm really into Olympic lifting right now. It's a lot of fun. Well,
it is.
Before we move on, I know I'm kind of prolonging this, but what's your answer? I think I know it.
So I would actually agree. When I first got into Olympic lifting, I loved those two. And then when powerlifting became like my passion, it was deadlift to start. And then I started to kind of hate deadlift a little bit, and then squat took over. So it's definitely squat. I love squats. It's
that's what I would have guessed.
Hands down. It's like there's just nothing that feels better than getting under a heavy squat and coming out of it feeling stronger. Like it's I feel like that's the best accomplishment. Whereas deadlift, I find, is a huge mental game. If your head isn't in the game, the bar just like glues itself to the floor.
That's such a good point. Yeah. Yeah, I can relate. Definitely.
Cool. I like that. That's awesome. What do you have for us for a topic today?
Today I want to talk about, you've actually made a post about this in the past, but I think it's worth just chatting about 10 big fat loss, like F-ups.
Oh yeah, cool. I know the post you're talking about.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. And there's always been a lot of comments on those ones. So I thought it's worth having a conversation about.
Okay. Did you write the 10 down, hopefully?
I sure did.
Okay. All right. So I'll let you go through the 10 and then we can just chat about them as we go.
Okay, perfect. The first one, and I think we can both at the top of our head would be our first answer, is not doing some form of lifting weights or doing some form of strength training, or even if it's body weight, right?
Yeah,
progressive overload
training. Yeah,
right.
For sure. I think that would actually circle back to our common misconceptions episode too. Is like a lot of people feel like more cardio is the answer for weight loss, but without resistance training, without getting stronger, without putting on muscle mass, you're doing yourself a huge injustice, right?
Hmm. More muscle mass. At the end of the day, you're burning more calories. And we know that strength training has been proven to show that we're actually burning more calories after we finish. So at the end of the day, it goes hand in hand with weight loss.
And it's like so much more enjoyable.
Exactly. All
Awesome.
right, I got number two.
Number two.
This one's good for, especially with all our B90 members. Unrealistic expectations.
Love it. Yeah. Yeah. I would say, well, so for anybody listening, like one thing we do with people is we do a lot of goal setting. So we have a call once a month with all of our members that we call our legacy call. And we do a lot of goal setting, and we set realistic goals for 90 days that we are going to be able to accomplish. And people's first reaction is almost always to shoot for a weight loss number that may or may not happen. And I think when you're setting that weight loss goal, like say you're going to lose 15 pounds in 90 days, could it happen? Yeah, it could absolutely happen. It might not, but I think when you're setting a big weight loss goal like that, you have to realize that you don't have control over what the scale is going to say. If you're retaining water when you step on the scale that day, it doesn't mean that you've messed up or you weren't successful necessarily. But it can be really frustrating, really discouraging, and I think that happens a lot when we set those unrealistic goals, right?
Yeah.
What are
Definitely.
your thoughts on that?
And I think I totally agree. And I think we can also look at it in like a shorter duration. So, like if people are setting, a water goal for the week, they're trying to hit a new goal by increasing their water. And we always talk about BAMs, like our bare ass minimums,
Mm,
right? So we're setting that goal. They're like, I'm going to drink 3 liters or a gallon of water every single day. And it's, well, what are you drinking now?
mm-hmm.
It's a liter. Okay, so 3 liters might seem unrealistic. What's the bare ass minimum you can do every day? Well, maybe 1.5 is now, I think, is the bare ass minimum. Well, then that's what I'm going to try and hit every day. And maybe it's 2 liters one day, and maybe it's only that 1.5, but at least it's still an increase from where we started.
A lot of people love to look at that like end goal, like eventually I want to weigh this amount, eventually I want to be drinking this amount of water. Well, that's fine. Like put that down on a piece of paper and revisit it again a year from now. But that doesn't mean that has to be your short-term goal, the goal that you're setting right now, that you're going to start working on right now, because it's really discouraging sometimes when we're just always looking at that end goal. It doesn't feel like we're making progress when week by week you're probably smashing through some huge barriers and obstacles, and like setting those mini goals along the way, like losing 3 pounds or 4 pounds or 5 pounds, like that's something worth celebrating. Not getting discouraged when you're only at 14 instead of 15 pounds of weight loss, right?
Right.
Cool.
Yeah, because that's still a significant amount of weight loss, right? Just
Totally.
because it's not that specific number, it's still a huge number.
And
Awesome.
like that number on the scale is just such a small part of the picture. I hate to put too much emphasis on it. It's an easy data point, but we don't like it. You could be gaining muscle, you could be retaining water. There's so many factors that you have to put into play.
That's funny you said that, because that's also another point, is they put too much emphasis on the scale. So we'll just knock that one off too.
Cool.
It's true, right? There's so many other wins that you can celebrate other than just relying on the scale. We can think about buying a new wardrobe or noticing that our pants are looser. And that, I think that is one of the most rewarding things when it comes to fat loss.
Yeah, the scale, I mean, I love it and hate it. I love it because it's a really easy reference point. We can weigh in and track our weight within like 30 seconds first thing in the morning. That's the reason I have our members do it. Hate it because it paints such a small part of the picture. Like for me, as I'm reviewing our coaching clients' weigh-ins, like I see somebody's weight go up a pound and it's like, oh, whatever, like that's not a big deal. Let's see what happens again tomorrow. And it doesn't bother me, but I have to take a step back sometimes and think about, okay, that's probably playing some head games on them today. So let's have a conversation about that, because it's certainly a mother effer.
Lack of better words, I like it.
I think just while we're on that, make sure that you're doing your weight or your progress pictures and your body measurements.
Yes.
Especially that waistline body measurement, like that one changes. You'd be surprised. Like you could probably do that one once or twice a month and see progress, even when the scale sometimes isn't moving. So make sure you're looking at all of those wins, not just the scale.
Yep, I agree. Love it. Next, we have eating too few of calories. And I think this is a tricky one for a lot of people to maybe understand. What's your take on that?
So a lot of people will read that or think that they're not eating enough, so their body might be going into starvation mode, and that's not what I mean when I write that. Like we don't eat too few calories and get fatter because of it or gain weight because of it. That's a very common misconception, right? Our body goes into starvation mode, we start storing fat, and we get bigger because of it. That's not what I mean by that. What I mean by that is you're restricting yourself to the point that it becomes unsustainable. A lot of people, so a lot of people want that quick fix, that quick result, and so they do that. But then, as we know, I mean, what's the end game there, right?
Yeah, and I think that in that B90 we talk so much about that sustainability, and although, like, our numbers may not show the most immediate amount of insane fat loss right at the beginning, but because we're trying to teach that sustainability over time, and our members can see that, but they're not, because they've learned all the lessons that can make it more of a lifelong process. It's exactly, the weight loss is going to happen longer over time.
What will often happen too, even if you are able to stick to it, so say you're in a huge caloric deficit and you're able to stick to that, you're making pretty good progress at first. What will often happen is your energy levels are going to drop through the floor and your workouts are going to turn to shit. So you in the beginning, when your energy levels are high and you're still training at the same level, that big caloric deficit will cause you to lose weight quicker. But then as your energy levels drop and your workouts become less quality or less frequency, you're not doing as much in the gym, you're burning less calories now. And so you're actually creating less of a caloric deficit. So you're not even doing yourself justice by eating less now, when in reality, like maybe eating another 100 or 200 calories a day would give you enough energy to put the effort in the gym, enjoy the foods you're eating a bit more, and still make the same level of progress.
Not only that, you might be eating too few of calories that you're not even able to maintain the muscle mass that you have.
Totally.
Right. And then we can talk about, we've mentioned how important having muscle mass is in the fat loss process. So
is protein one of these 10 points?
Yes, that's the next one. Not eating enough protein.
Because I was gonna say, like, that's another big one too, right? If you're just focusing on the calories and not focusing on what the calories consist of, you're not getting your vegetables, you're not getting your fruits, you're not getting your protein, then you might be sacrificing muscle mass just for the sake of losing a couple extra pounds. Well, there's not anybody listening to this that, a lot of people are so focused on that weight. I want to lose these last 5 pounds. Well, trust me, if you lost 5 pounds of muscle mass, you would not like the way that it looked when you lost those 5 pounds. So that's really important, right?
Don't just starve yourself to lose the last 5 pounds. Yeah, because it's not going to be, in quotations, the defined or toned look, because you're losing that muscle mass.
The difference between 5 pounds of muscle loss, 5 pounds of fat loss, and 5 pounds of water loss is like so drastically different that's why we can't put enough stress on the fact that you can't just focus on losing weight. You have to do it sustainably. You have to do it a little bit slower, because what you were really, really striving for is fat loss at the end of the day. You don't, that's going to look so much different than just overall weight loss.
I agree. Yep. All right. Our next one leads us to not tracking their intake in some way, shape, or form. Some people track their calories, using an app, which is a common one we get. Some people track, we have our members tracking with point system. Some people just write down on a piece of paper what they ate that day. But I think visually seeing what you're consuming in some way, especially at the start, right? It teaches portion control. It teaches so many lessons about, the biggest eye opener I've ever experienced was, what was a tablespoon of peanut butter? Not what I thought it was. So that's the difference of like 400 calories, because the serving size that I was having. So tracking is a huge one.
It's funny because a tablespoon's so small. Well, one thing I'll get people to do often is a food log at the beginning, just write down what you're eating. And it doesn't have to be exact amounts, but I want you to write down exactly what you're eating for like 3, 4, 5, maybe a week. Write down exactly what you're eating in approximate quantities. And almost everybody who does that exercise is like, wow, that was such a big eye opener. But what I'll often see on that too is like, I used a teaspoon of like salad dressing. Like, I have a pretty hard time believing you used a teaspoon of salad dressing, because a tablespoon of salad dressing is not very much.
Yeah, exactly. You just
So
picture how people usually pour it on, and it's definitely more than a tablespoon.
I think with oils, sauces, and dressings, you need to use measuring spoons for a couple days so that you can see what those serving sizes actually are. Because like you said, with the peanut butter, a tablespoon of peanut butter is small.
Anything with fats I find pretty significant, because like even just like a 3 centimeter cube of cheese, that's just your serving, but most people have more than that of cheese. So I think because fats carry more calories per gram, that's significantly, and it's a big eye opener for people.
And so for people listening, just so you can kind of draw a reference to what Jerrika just said. So our three macronutrients: protein, carbohydrates, and fats. So protein and carbohydrates are both 4 calories per gram. Fat is 9 calories per gram. So that's not to say don't eat fats. It's just you need to be aware of that when you're designing your serving sizes. So that's why you'll often see a serving size of something that's fat, like cheese or oil, is closer to a tablespoon, whereas a serving of protein or carbohydrates might be closer to a cup or a half a cup. So that's the difference there, just if you are wondering about that.
Yeah, that's awesome that you added that in. Our next one is just not having a plan. And I think we could take that into two directions: not having a plan, nutrition wise, not having a plan in the gym, or maybe just not having like a weekly plan. But we always talk about sitting down, maybe it's meal planning or writing down when you're going to get your 20 minutes of purposeful movement in, or just some type of game plan.
Do you ever catch yourself falling into this trap?
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Definitely. Like it becomes a routine where I just think, oh, I'm just gonna do the same thing as last week. But then there's other things on the calendar that was not the same as last week. So then, yeah, you definitely, everyone I think falls into it.
I think this is the one that resonates with me the most, actually, because when I don't have a specific goal, so if I'm not training for something specific, it's really easy for me just to fall into the same old, and go into the gym and do what I want to do. And the listeners have heard me say it before. I mean, I've hired coaches for myself in the past just to kind of get through some of these plateaus, because it's certainly not that I don't know what to do in the gym, but I mean, if I don't have something specific to train for, then I'm probably just going to go downstairs and squat.
Absolutely.
and
Yep.
So, I mean, sometimes it's nice to have a coach, even just for the accountability and support, and say like, okay, like today you got to do this, this, and this, and maybe in the kitchen we're going to try this, and this, because it's easy to get really comfortable.
Oh, definitely. I myself have a coach. I use a coach every month.
Yeah.
I get a new plan and I send in my stuff, and it holds you accountable. Like you said, I'm not training for anything, but it makes you do the exercises that you tend to neglect. Or
I think it's more important when you aren't training for something sometimes, because like, I mean, when you and I, for anybody who doesn't know Jerrika and I personally, we ran the Spartan trifecta a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, right? So it was 3 Spartan races, 3 days in a row. So one on Friday, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. And it gave, I don't know about you, but it gave me a real sense of purpose for what I was training for. Like I started running more, I started lifting purposefully, I started eating to complement my training. And it really helped me to have something like that. When you don't, like, having a coach can be the difference maker, because then you have somebody holding you accountable, because you don't have that external source of accountability like a race to train for.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Cool.
I like it.
What's next?
Awesome. Oh, my one, a big one, drinking calories.
Mm.
That's a huge one.
It's such
It's
a
overlooked.
slippery slope for people. The Starbucks is the first one that comes to mind because so many people have like that 400 calorie Starbucks
Yeah.
to start their day. What's one that you hear often? I mean, I'm sure we both hear
Pop,
this. Pop. Well, yeah, that's true.
the big
Uh,
one
I feel
that
like
I've,
I feel like it's kind of
it's
from what
starting to go more towards like people will have a Diet Coke now. You know, you hear it more common in restaurants. I'll take a Diet Coke.
I feel like
Those
pop
more
was way
common.
bigger when we were younger, but maybe
Just lately, I've had 3 people talk to me about pop.
oh yeah, I still do see it for sure. I think there's people that are really into that, but I think the one we see all the time, and I mean we work primarily with women, is wine, right?
Oh yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
those are sneaky calories if you're having like
Hmm.
if you're having 2 or 3 glasses some nights, or one
And the
every
glass at
night.
home is not the same size as a glass at the restaurant.
Yeah, that's another eye opener, just like the tablespoon of peanut butter. I mean,
Yeah.
I like to say, take your favorite glass of wine and pour 5 ounces of water into it. Your favorite glass, sorry, and pour 5 ounces of water into it, and get a visual marker of where that 5 ounce lines up on your favorite glass, the glass you use every time, so that you should be able to fill it to that line when you're filling it with wine.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, a good way to know instead of having to measure it. I like that. What else? Yeah. Oh, and there's 2 left. So not understanding food labels.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. And I guess
Hmm.
we kind of touched on it there with the macronutrient
We
split.
did, yes.
Um, Food labels and food packaging in general is so deceiving. Like you'll see like fat free, and that means healthy, I guess. Like so it's like or like what's another one that's off gluten free? You'll see a lot on packages. Like, and you're seeing this on packages of stuff that never would have had gluten in the first
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
like
Or
like it
dairy free, but then it's filled with like heavy.
preservatives and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
It's funny because like these companies, they're professional marketers. They're putting this stuff on the label to trick you into believing what you are eating is healthier than it actually is. So it's so important that you know what you're looking for. And just from a really quick glance, like look at the calories per serving, understand the serving, I'd say, is the first thing, because
That's what I would take from that.
often like a serving size on the back of a label is going to be a quarter of the actual serving size you would eat. So first things first,
Yep.
look at that serving size and be aware of what that serving size is, and then how many calories is it per serving size. If you're going to eat 4 times that serving size, then you have to multiply that calorie intake by 4, right?
Right.
I mean, we
Yep.
could dig into a nutrition label so far, but I'd say pay
Yeah,
attention.
I think that's the bottom. That's it. That's what I would say is the serving size. Just understand. And you don't have to even know the calories necessarily bang on. You just have to understand the size of the food you're eating and basically is it making you full eating that and just making that connection.
Yeah, yeah,
I like
and
it.
and realize that anything written on the front of that package is probably bullshit. I remember Pringles, I think it was one year, I might be lying, so I hopefully they don't sue me for that. They wrote like 1/3 of the salt, 1/3 of the sodium of our original blend or whatever, and then on the original blend all they did was increase the sodium content, so that this like low
Oh,
sodium one was just now their normal one. And so people be like, oh,
interesting.
this is so healthy, I'm going to eat this one now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens way more than we think or we know. So it's
Totally,
yeah.
totally.
And our last one, and this is a big one, is trying to out train or out exercise your diet.
Mm. Yeah, I think we've all tried
That's
that.
a
I know
huge one.
I've definitely tried it.
Yeah.
I've got to say, over the past like year now, I went through about 5 months of not training, and well, well, I agree with that statement that you can't outtrain a bad diet. It has so many other effects other than just like our caloric balance, right? Like
Hmm.
not training completely changes your headspace too. So, I would never encourage somebody to try to exercise more to eat more. Exercising more to get you in a healthy, good headspace is so essential. Like when you exercise, you just don't want to mess up your diet as much because everything is kind of dialed in, right?
Exactly. That's what I think is the bottom line is when you wake up and do your workout, or when you get that in, it makes you want to drink your water. It makes you want to eat, make better choices. It's all just, it's the full picture.
Totally is, yeah.
Can't
but
really have one
but
without the other in my
it's
mind.
true at the end of the day though. You can't outtrain your bad diet, so don't ever think that you should exercise more to counteract the food you want to eat. That's just a vicious circle.
And don't
Cool.
think because you have an injury that you can't lose weight, right?
Yeah,
There's an injury that's stopping you from exercising. You can still lose fat, right? There's still that caloric deficit that we can make.
totally.
We just say if you can exercise, it will create obviously a better headspace and a better kind of plate for you to succeed.
And that's where that's going to catch up with people actually, is like for instance, before I broke my ankle, I was training like twice most days. I was doing a run and a workout most days. When that came to a grinding halt, that created
Hmm.
like a 900 or probably 1,000 calorie surplus that I had to balance out with nutrition intake at that point. So
Crazy.
that's definitely a reason to not try and out train a bad diet.
Yeah, that's insane. That's a big difference, but
Cool.
made it
That's
work. Awesome. That's
that's
all
a
of our 10 points.
wicked topic. Um, I've got a little kitchen recipe that I tried for people who, it's for people because I know a lot of people don't like ground chicken or ground turkey. Like, do you like it?
I don't mind it.
Don't love it?
I don't love ground turkey. I just don't think it loves me.
Okay, yeah, I've heard that a lot.
Yeah.
So this one is like to make your own chicken nuggets. You take the ground chicken. I used ground chicken and just mix it up with some eggs, and you can make it basically like you would like a meatloaf. Like put anything in it you want. But I wouldn't add like breadcrumbs into it, because then what you do is you actually coat the outside of it with like shake and bake, or I used some pretzels, like broken up pretzels.
Oh,
And so
that's
then
amazing.
made it into like nugget sized chunks, and then coated it in this pretzel coating, and then just baked it like that till it was crispy. And it was so good because it's like a healthy chicken McNugget. And
That
you
sounds
you have
amazing.
to you have to factor in the fact that you're adding carb obviously to the chicken, so that's going to increase your carb intake. But what I did then is I just didn't have a carb with the meal, so
Right.
I had like a bunch of these chicken nuggets with a salad, and it was super filling. I got a ton of protein because the chicken nuggets were the main portion of that meal, and then just had vegetables with it. So and they kept well in the fridge, like turned out awesome.
Hmm.
And I was just dipping them in Greek yogurt dips that I was making too. So
Yeah, yeah, like a sriracha kind of Greek
yeah,
yogurt dip. I
yeah.
also bread my, like I would bread mine with, I use the Kodiak cakes with a bunch of seasoning, like different
Mm,
Cajun seasonings mixed in with the Kodiak cake, and it makes like that thin McDonald's like
I didn't even think of
um,
that, the Kodiak.
nugget. Yeah, it's really good. And sometimes I'll do half Kodiak with like half panko if I want it crunchy, and just kind of
That's what I did,
mix them
some
up.
panko and some broken up pretzels. But I didn't even
Yeah,
think of the Kodiak. I might try that next time, because this is
I
like,
use that for a lot of breadings.
it's such a game changer when you have just a protein in your fridge like that. Like I could just go and grab 3 of these nuggets, and each one was about 8 grams of protein. So it's like such quick grab and go snack.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
I like
cool.
that. I like that a lot. Cool.
Awesome. Thanks for listening, guys. Let us know what of these 10 fat loss F ups is the one holding you back the most from your goal. And make sure you share this with a friend if you found it valuable.